Hi guys, my name is Karina and I'm the head of marketing here at Accelerate Me. And Oliver asked me to deliver a presentation today, like a short intro presentation on marketing. So I chose this subject because I think it's very useful, marketing in the context of having a startup. So how you would go around marketing your startup at the very beginning and what things to kind of consider in the early stages. So yes, I chose this topic. I hope it's going to be helpful. So as I said, there are a few things that you might want to consider when deciding to start marketing your startup. So that will be the customer, the branding, the platforms you use, and how you plan to deliver value. So regarding the customer, your product fulfills a need, right? Your product solves a problem that someone has. Your product is the solution to someone's problem. So what you need to do is find that someone that your startup or your product is a good fit for, because you can't be talking to everybody. You need to find that special someone that is the perfect fit for your product, so you know how to target, so you know how to market, so you know how to talk to them in order for them to hear you and to understand your brand and to understand your product and to actually start being committed to your brand and start actually buying. So you need to find that special someone, and go from there. And this is also the easiest way to verify your idea, just because if you have a great product but no one wants it, then this is such a shame, and it means that somewhere along the road you made a mistake, in the sense that probably you didn't know how to talk to that person that you wanted to target. So even if you have a great idea, it is not enough. That does not guarantee that your product is going to do well. You actually need to put the product in front of the audience that needs it the most. So that's why you need to be really careful on on building this buyer persona, because ultimately these are going to be your customers if your startup succeeds. So if they want your product, then your business is verified, then you know you have the potential to grow this idea. So how you would go around building this persona is actually thinking about, okay, so who is this customer? How are they thinking? What is their age? Are they teenagers? Are they like young adults like us? Is it like the 35-year-old mother that lives in the suburbs and drinks tea every day at 5 o'clock? So you really have to think about that, because it really helps you understand how they're thinking, what they're doing, which platforms they use, etc. And from that point on, you can decide actually how to target and what kind of messages you should use in order to appeal to that person, in order to make you actually seem relevant for them and for them to understand you. So you have to develop this relationship, and they have to empathize with you. So that's why you want to understand them, and that's why you want to talk using their language, essentially. So one piece of advice that I got from a really, really good book that I highly recommend you read, it's called This is Marketing by Seth Godin. He basically said that you should start really, really small. This is called like a minimum viable audience. So how you would start in startups with a minimum viable product, he says that in marketing, you should start with a minimum viable audience. So it's that group of people, like the smallest group of people that can sustain you from the very beginning, that can sustain your work as it grows. So they would be customers from point zero to point like 2 million, 3 million, whatever. And those are the people that would ultimately recommend you, right, to their like-minded like-minded people, to the people that are likely to see your product in the same way that they see your product. So that's why it is very important to start small, know your audience, don't try to please everyone, don't try to talk to everyone, because it's like you would try to learn 5 languages at the same time. You're never gonna do like every single bit of it right. It's better to focus only on one of them until you get the hang of it, and then you can expand. So that will help you be more focused. Okay, next. This is my favorite part because I'm a huge branding fanatic. So another key thing you should pay attention to is how you present yourself to the world, and that is through the way you brand your startup, essentially how your brand how your brand looks, how your brand is seen, what your brand stands for. So there are 2 components in the branding spectrum. The first one is the branding strategy, and that essentially helps you, your employees, and everyone else really be focused on what you're standing for. So you should know from the very beginning, because you started this company for a purpose, I guess. You wanna achieve something, right? So you should know what's your purpose. So what do you want to achieve with this company? Why do you do this? What's your mission? How do you plan on changing anything? Is there a greater purpose to this? What's your vision? How would you see this company in the long run? How would you see it in 5 years? How would you see it in 10 years? How would you see it like impacting the lives of other people? What's this company's personality? Is it friendly, like let's say Google, or is it more serious, like The Economist, let's say? You could kind of pick up on a brand's personality by the way they present themselves on social media, by the fonts they use, by just the way you kind of get that vibe, if that makes sense. You could kind of tell if a company is more friendly, more goofy, more serious, more... You can kind of pick up on that. So when you decide your personality, if you're goofy, if you're serious, if you're funny, whatever, then you can decide what the tone of voice is, because remember how we talked about the buyer persona? We also need to find a way to talk to them in a way that they resonate with. So that would fit into the brand strategy at this point, because we need to find a way to talk to them, a way that they really like. So for example, I would really like my sneakers company to be talking to me in a very quirky way and relaxed way. I wouldn't really like them to be like, yes, we have this sale, you should buy now, because that doesn't make sense for me as a customer, and it doesn't make sense for them, because it won't end up developing any sort of relationship between us. Because people who are really invested in brands, they feel like they have a personal attachment to them, if that makes sense. So you need to kind of start from the very beginning on how you talk to those people. And then the tagline, it's basically what you want to do or what you stand for, but summarized in a very, very succinct way. You don't necessarily need to publish it anywhere, but you kind of have to have this motto just so you know what you stand for, like in a few words. So how Nike says, just do it. They stand for this, what's the word? Spontaneity, and how athletes just have to have the courage and just do it. So think about what your company does and what it stands for, and try coming up with a tagline that makes sense and that would kind of help you stick your ground and remember what you're doing and what you're here for. The second part of the branding component is the visual identity. So basically, this is what the people see, and this is what makes you remarkable and rememberable, because I feel like there's such a huge achievement when someone sees even your logo or even your brand colors and thinks about you, I feel like that's the moment when you know you kind of succeeded, when they see your logo and they know, oh yeah, that's Accelerate Me. And not because we have this Accelerate Me logo, but when they see that little plane, that's when we know we succeeded, for example, because that lets us know that people actually know who we are and that they remember, that they make that instant connection through only seeing some colors. So a few components of visual identity are the logo or the logos, because as you can see, we have multiple versions. So it's the whole logo with two different colors. Then there's the shorter one with only the me and the plane. And then there's the icon. So it's good to have this kind of variety, because depending on what kind of startup you have, you might need to adapt it to newsletters, packaging, different types of visual media. And sometimes like the whole logo might not look good on something. So for Accelerate Me, a lot of the times we just use the small plane because it just looks better, but it still provides us with that coherent look. The font and typography are really important because it makes you, again, look very coherent, and it makes people remember you. So, for example, in Accelerate Me, we use a lot of Montserrat Bold, Montserrat Classic, Segoe Bold, and Segoe Regular. And you will see that even this presentation uses those fonts and those colors that we have. And on Instagram, we do the same thing, because we kind of want to transmit that coherence. And it really makes sense for us, because it makes us feel closer to our brand, and it makes other people recognize us in the long term. And it's a very good idea to have some set fonts that you can use anytime. Then there's the color palette. I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory. It's the colors that you use in your logo, in your typography, is the colors that basically describe you. So, for example, if I were to look at these colors that we have at Accelerate Me now, after looking at them for so long on Instagram and on whatever, if you didn't tell me that these are the colors of Accelerate Me, I could tell you right now that these are the colors of Accelerate Me, because this is very heavily imprinted in my brain. So that's how all the brands work. It's like seeing purple and thinking about, let's say, Yahoo in the old times, or seeing like the turquoise, the light turquoise, and thinking about Deliveroo, let's say. So when you use these colors consistently, they're eventually remembered, and that helps you in the long run very much. And the last thing are shapes, icons, and patterns. This is not necessarily a must, but it looks cool and it feels cool to have like some of your personal icons, someone that did some illustrations, in particular for you. For example, in Accelerate Me, we have used like this pattern for some of our tickets, or when we felt like we needed to fill up some space. So this is not really mandatory, but it's good to have, because you never know when you're gonna need them. So yeah, that's most of the branding part. Now, the third point is all about the platforms that you use. So I talked about how different people hang out on different platforms. So me, Karina, 21 years old, I use TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat maybe, but you can't really advertise on Snapchat that much. So let's say I just use Instagram and TikTok. But Karen at 45 that lives with her cat probably doesn't use TikTok, and she probably hangs around Facebook a lot more than I do. So if your target audience is me, you would probably decide to use TikTok and Instagram. But if your target audience is Karen or Bob at 60 who wants some gardening tools, you would probably want to use something else. So you really need to choose the platforms you want to use in order for your brand to be seen. Because also think about this, if you're really a serious brand, you cannot simply just advertise anywhere. You have to be really careful where you advertise, how you do it. And also, the biggest point is that you don't have to, if you advertise on the wrong platform, it's going to cost you a lot of money because the people you want to target are not going to see you because they're not there. So you really have to think about where do you want to be seen. So at the beginning, because you guys have startups and I would assume you probably don't have a lot of money to invest in ads and outdoor promotion and something similar to that, you want to aim for organic reach at the beginning. So engage with people on social media as much as possible. Use Instagram Reels because they have such a huge impact. Use TikTok if it makes sense for your product. Use Pinterest if you have something more visual, because those are the kind of tools that provide you with an organic reach. So try aiming for that as much as you can because it's going to cost you a lot of money at the beginning. Also, make really good use of Google because, as you guys know, I mean, everyone on the planet knows, but it's the main search engine. So if you really pay close attention to your SEO and have a really good developer doing your website, then this might be a very, very good advantage for you because the chances of you ranking higher in the Google index, in the Google engine, are going to provide you with so much free traffic. You don't even have to pay for SEO, like for ads or to appear higher in the Google engine if you have a good enough SEO. At some point, it's going to happen. You're going to be on the front page in Google, and that's going to be free. And one other thing is to use Google My Business. So, for example, if you have a physical shop, or even if you don't, it's just good to have to register your company in Google My Business so that Google knows it's there, people know how to find you. And also, it's really important to have a professional looking website because I don't know about you guys, but this might be a bit biased, but whenever I search for a brand or even a person, like a professional, if they don't have a website or if it's sketchy or if it doesn't look professional, I kind of think twice before actually doing anything. So you might want to consider having a professional looking website. You don't even have to pay a developer to do it for you. There's tons of platforms you can use, like Squarespace, WordPress, and you can do your own website. And the last point is creating and delivering value. And that, in my opinion, is really important from a marketing standpoint because it makes people know that you don't only care about the money. So by using this content marketing strategy, what you're doing is essentially providing free and qualitative content for people that they can enjoy outside of any purchasing journey they might want to embark on in your brand. So you might want to create, how we're doing at Accelerate Me. We're not only selling tickets for events, but we're also doing educational posts and fun reels and movie nights, and we're doing all these kinds of different content types so that people know that we care about them and that we're not only there for the money, that we're not only interested in selling something to them, because that makes people feel that you're interested, that you actually put in the time to give them something for free, and then you develop that relationship with them and it makes them trust you more, and that's only good in the long run. And the next and the last point is to constantly stay in touch with them using your social media. So reply to comments if you have any, as much as you can. make them feel like there's actually a person behind that brand. I don't know if you guys were present to our last event, but basically Terry, this amazing guy, he talked about how people buy from people. So if you as a brand become more personable, then people can relate more to you. So this is why you should try staying as active as you can, responding to people, organizing events, so on and so forth, so that they can start relating to you and grow your business. So yeah, that was about it. I'm so glad I didn't cough because I have a massive cold. But yeah, I hope that helped you guys. This was done at 5 a.m., so I'm still very tired. But yeah.